soft demand for that. But I think South Africa, you still have a lot of potential because it's the largest economy in Africa.
Yeah.
It's actually, the infrastructure has enormous potential in the future.
And China also has been investing heavily.
China invested heavily there. ICBC actually acquired a South African bank some years ago, and actually collaborating with them heavily on the financing side. Infrastructure-wise, there's a lot of potential. And also, I think once the world economy is turning around and the demand is picking up, those BRICS nations will have another golden years ahead, and China can play a lot of role.
And followed by Indian delegation headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This is Modi's second visit to China since he took office in 2014. During his term, Indian economy has been growing rapidly and steadily. Of course, it has seen a decline of growth in recent months, but still, India's economy is the fastest among the world economies. More educated workers in the workforce, lower levels of unemployment. But of course, India is now facing some political problems as it is running into election cycle. That's why Prime Minister Modi reshuffled his cabinet yesterday. India is the second largest population in the world and is very competitive in software, medicine, and finance. As one of the first four countries of BRICS, India has been using this organization as a platform for economic cooperation. On the other hand, its strength and momentum has contributed to the group status in the world. India, of course, had some border disputes with China in recent months, but luckily both sides agreed that they should put aside the dispute and join hands for cooperation, and that's the big picture.
That's really the picture. I think I just come back from India just 2 weeks ago, and it's enormous development there, and the growth is still quite high, and 5, 6%, 7%, and also in the next 10 years, I'm sure India will become one of the big economy in the world, and also population-wise, probably going to take over China, become the largest population countries in the world as well. So, and also dynamically, India is very young. I mean, average year is about 20, 30 years old. A lot of young people, and infrastructure-wise, it's enormous collaboration potential with China. And we see also China mobile phones are also everywhere there, and also a lot of potential.
A lot of people are talking about the enormous room for cooperation between China and India, but it seems people are not satisfied with the status quo. It should be more economic transactions.
Yeah.
What is in the way for better cooperation?
I think first of all, we probably the BRICS summit is good, but also bilaterally, China and India should have more economic delegations, more conference, more forums, more business visit. For example, right now in India, there's only a few thousand Chinese. It's much less. We have 1 million Chinese in Africa, whereas in the same population size, even larger than Africa.
Why is that?
We have only a few thousand.
What can be done to change that?
Well, what can be done? Of course, there's so many things can be done. For example, I think the both government can make more initiatives, particularly from the industry side. Chinese businessmen should visit India more. We should have more Indian people come to China. Computer-wise, India has a lot of software specialty, and we should take advantage of that as well.
But also, do business people feel that they are not so welcome there, both policy-wise and culture-wise?
Probably, I think the policy and the culture-wise can be one example, but also there's another good convenient element of that is because India speaks English. A lot of Chinese companies speak English, so we have easy access to the language. Communication per se to business people. So I think the business people. I know Sanyi is there, heavy industries there, and also Huawei. And also we have Xiaomi, we have Volvo. There's so many Chinese companies has a strong interest there.
And I think Brazil is a good example because the Chinese are very entrepreneurial and very enterprising. Should Brazil tell something to India about what the Chinese can do for a country like Brazil and India?
Well, I think that India should look at Brazil's example, where China is doing a lot of business, and it's really helping soften the economic crisis of Brazil. And however, some of the major infrastructure in transportation, like railways, still have to be built in Brazil. China has invested massively into energy generation and transmission. You know, China State Grid bought one of the largest companies in São Paulo, and China Three Gorges has invested almost more than $10 billion over the last 3 years into Brazil. So, however, in the railway system, like, you know, the Bioceanic Railway and the bullet train between Rio de Janeiro and São Paulo, the major cities of Brazil, still have to be developed.
And infrastructure-wise, India also has huge needs for infrastructure building.
Very big needs.
And China has capabilities and wherewithals to do that, help India.
Well, I think, you know, could start with, of course, for example, telecommunication networks. That is an enormous area that India needs to be developed. And also, of course, India is like a metro, subway. New Delhi has no subway, for example. I mean, you have a lot of, let alone the super speed the railway now.
Bullet trains,
and also highways and name it. You go to India, you find it's a gold mine, and it's an enormous opportunity for Chinese business and also for BRICS nations too.
But it seems there is still a deficit of political trust, because infrastructure building needs your partners to be really faithful and you can trust them with.
That's right. I think that's why I really would love to see more people-to-people exchanges. You know, like tourism. India is also good for tourism. India have a lot of hospitality places, and also importantly, because we have less traffic, there's also education orientation to be made. We probably should have more business delegations, conference.
So you're suggesting that knowledge of one another will definitely help each other to do better business.
Exactly. Yes.
This